the problem with disease is we think that the disease is the problem. We think the symptoms that we have are the problem. So we only go to the doctors, or we only go to a therapist, or we only seek help when we are confronted with the results of what has been an ongoing issue. See, symptoms of emotions are just biofeedback. Emotions are the result of the dissonance of something that you've been ignoring. There's no good or bad emotions, and I'm really avoiding kind of things like HeartMath now that talk about positive and negative emotions, because there aren't any positive or negative emotions. Emotions are designed to get you to do something, to enable you to act, to do something. So if you are suppressing emotions, if you feel you're not allowed to express your emotions, if you're afraid of your emotions, or if you're finding you can't control them anymore, which is where I got to, something needs to be done. And those emotions are very, very specific to whatever it is you're avoiding. They're very, very specific to whatever it is that needs your attention. So they're simply very, very clever, very, very intelligent biofeedback. And they enable you, or they're trying to get you to act, to do something. So the flight and fight mechanism, we all talk about flight and fight and freeze and all of these, the limbic system is kind of controlling or, making you have these responses. Well, it isn't. The brainstem actually controls these things. But where we form memories and where we store that information to be kind of database searched and pattern matched and referenced is within the limbic system, and where we update that information and create memories is in that part of the brain. So our reticular activating system filters out things that are not relevant. So even if that is useful to me, if I don't believe it, I'm not going to see it. So I only see what backs up my original belief, and I'll edit out other stuff that kind of competes with that or is not in agreement with it. So I think that when I have emotions I don't like, I've got to do something to get rid of these emotions. And all of the therapy is all about getting this out, tapping this out, or, trying to stop something, trying to get rid of something. And it really isn't what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be bringing our attention, our awareness, our acceptance to the way things are at the moment, and then recognizing what it is that we are dissonant with. What is the challenge, the discordance and disharmony to our balance, to our symphony of harmonics that is not happy with this challenge or threat to survival. So anything that is a threat to survival has a very strong dissonance to us, but we know how to deal with it. We know what to do. The body knows exactly how to handle this sort of thing, and how to process it, and how to integrate the learning, and how to get stronger, and how to build resilience. Unfortunately, we have evolved as these amazing, intelligent human beings, and we have evolved into the prefrontal cortex, where we give meaning and thought, and we can plan time, and we can see into the future and plan the future and remember the past and think about the past. So we create a story and a narrative around things so that we don't process them anymore. So what we do is we don't live in the present moment anymore, and we end up creating a story around us based on meanings that we've given to things which weren't necessarily true at the time, and they're certainly no longer true now. So our dissonance is really one that we are mostly creating ourselves, which is interesting, because that would suggest that we're in an evolutionary period of time where we're evolving from animals that, although less evolved than us, in another sense are more evolved in that they are able to process the things that happen. They are not caught in this bit in the middle like we are at the moment. So we've evolved beyond animals that can be in the present moment, but not as enough to be able to use these incredible functions and still be in the present moment. They take us out of the present moment. So really, Rupert Sheldrake talks about morphic fields and morphic resonance, morphic memory. And what we have is this, if you imagine the infinity symbol, we really have this feedback, feed forward loop, because everything I upload into my memory and I tell myself is true and I store as a memory becomes the future. The past and the future can only exist by virtue of the present moment. Without the present moment, there is no past and no future. It's simply an aberration, something that appears to us because of sequence of events. But actually there is no sequence, because we're only ever in the present moment. But what we do is we create the present moment by updating information and making memory. So what feedback, feed forward means is we feed back the memory that then tells me how to be in the next moment. So as long as we're in the present moment, we can change that within the present moment, every moment. And I mean, I'm not even going to get into the science of the torus and 0 point, and the fact that actually we're constantly passing through multiple 0 points at any given moment, so we don't really exist anyway. That's a whole other thing. So disease is really our story that we're telling ourselves, and the way in which we're triggering ourselves into believing a story that in this present moment isn't even true. And we tell ourselves that story, and then that tells us how to be, and we believe that based on the evidence it keeps giving to us, because it does, because we tell it to. So of course it does. And that's why I kind of like Psych K, because Psych K helps you break that cycle and helps you see, oh, well, maybe something else is possible, or maybe it's not all of the way I saw it. So really, the first thing to understand about disease is that it is not the body. The body is dutifully doing what it does. It is really not the physical, mental, and emotional feedback that we're getting that is the problem, because we're getting feedback that's telling us what to address, and we're ignoring it, or we're taking meds, or we're putting a sticking plaster on the situation, and we're not doing anything about the actual dissonance that is causing the destruction. So if you have waves, different waves come together, they can do a number of things. They can actually merge together and be constructive waves, and then they can actually make something. They can come together and they can be compacted together, which makes them stronger. Well, strong is not quite the right word, but I'd have to go off at a tangent to explain it. Or you can have interference, and they can interfere with each other. They can actually cancel each other out, or they can be dissonant. And a threat to survival is a dissonance for sure, but so are most of our thoughts, and so are most of the things that we keep telling ourselves and updating our narrative with. And, the body dutifully responds, and our emotions dutifully keep telling us what we need to bring our attention to. And we have got so used to putting the locus of power outside of ourselves and giving our power away that we don't get that we are the master of that. We are the person that actually is doing that. Because we took on board what someone told us before we were 6, and we formed our view of the world before we were 6, and now we believe that's all to be true. So how do we do something about that? What is it that you can do? Well, most of the therapies that are available today, one way or another, help you to shift that stuck information. So heart conscious healing and the heart alignment parts integration, really what we do is we just identify the parts of us that are still stuck in time and space. So active traumas, active beliefs, memories, thoughts that are creating physical, mental, emotional symptoms. We just bring our attention to those, and we accept them for what they're really doing. We don't label them, we don't add anything to that except love and compassion. And by bringing our attention, by bringing acceptance, appreciation, we are actually literally, with attention, putting electromagnetic information and energy to that. So what are we doing? We're raising the vibration of those things, which enables us to integrate the parts of us that were separated and were split. And when we do that, we are able to grow and build resilience, and we grow physical resilience, mental and emotional wisdom and resilience. So I know it sounds really simple answer. Do you know it actually is that simple? The more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you believe in the integrity of your own field and the integrity of your capacity to heal, the self-organizing, self-healing system, then the more you can actually see it in action, because your attention shifts, your awareness grows, your consciousness expands, and you can begin to bring your consciousness more easily into the situation and notice where you're in an old narrative that is actually very much out of date. And by keep telling it yourself, you're feeding it back into your memory, which then feeds forward into your daily life. If you really, really get into the present moment, if you self-regulate, if you bring attention to the harmonics of your system, address the actual full system. So in systems vibrations and systems work, we're looking at nested information, information within information. Just because one part of me has a resonance doesn't put it outside, it's within a system, within a system, within a system. When we bring all of those into coherence, not as simple as just your head and your heart talking to each other, it's the whole system. All of the energy centers, all of the kind of system thresholds. We have these event horizons at various points throughout the system that help regulate the next one and the next one and the next one. It's a very, very intelligent, self-organizing and regulating system. If we bring our attention to that, we'll more easily see where it is not, let's say we have dissonance that we don't like, and where it's trying to compensate for that. And the more we can get into flow, get into coherence, and the more easy it becomes to be able to address those parts of us that we are spending our usual time trying to ignore, get away from, suppress, move on from, or whatever it is that you're doing. You can keep doing that, but your body's going to keep adapting. Your emotions are going to keep shouting at you to deal with it. And your mind is going to keep going around in circles. And that's exhausting. You wonder why you're tired? Because all of your energy, instead of being in this beautiful functioning system, all of your energy is being dissipated in discordance and in fighting off these vibrations and these destructive waves that are coming in, and you're trying to hold this integrity. You're trying to hold a field integrity whilst you are holding off these events or these thoughts or these experiences or people or whatever it is that is challenging you. Whereas what needs to happen is you need to really get into coherence, bring your attention to what the trigger is, what is causing your body to adapt and change. It's not just a case of taking some drugs which are also discordant. Okay, anything that's manufactured and processed or synthetic is completely discordant to your system anyway. So if you're trying to fix a problem with another problem, you're going to have another problem. It's going to become compound. So the more we go into coherence with very specific breathing patterns, very specific attention, the more we can be present, be aware of our narrative, be aware of the discordance and the dissonance. What are the destructive waves? What is happening to us? What is my specific adaptations, my specific tissue changes to cope? What are my emotions telling me? And where can I put my attention and my appreciation? And where can I update the old narrative and the old information so that I can bring those parts of me that have been split off and separate and fragmented, so I can bring them back and become more in line, in alignment, more harmonized, more attuned, in more accord, so that my system is fully functioning and I'm actually more of a powerhouse of information, a powerhouse of energy that is not being spent and dissipated, just holding off stuff that is outdated. So coherence, so the ABC of heart conscious breathing: attention to the heart, Breathe in and out. Now, it used to be at the heart, but I'm doing a lot of other new stuff at the moment, and that's going to be changing. And connect. So connect to the present moment, not even to a feeling of appreciation yet. Connect to being present. Then when you're really present, and you do that by having all of your senses awake, we don't close our eyes, we're fully functioning and fully aware, looking at what's going on, hearing what's around us, feeling our feet on the floor, being aware of our interoceptive and extraceptive and proprioceptive senses, and on is it neuroceptive as well? Aware of all of that stuff, not denying or trying to get away from anything, and being fully present, then we can start to understand what's going on. So maybe we need some exercises. I can help you with some exercises for that. But I'd be really interested to know your thoughts on this. What are you thinking when I say it's about resonance, it's about dissonance, it's about bringing attention? It isn't all your fluffy woo-woo stuff. That's a waste of time. It is very, very practical, very, very fundamental to your system working properly. You know, if you want to tune a car, you can get these stethoscopes that listen really, really carefully to how everything is working together. So if you're being an old banger, how do you turn yourself into the super hot Ferrari? So I'm wearing red, good analogy. How do you do that? Well, you have to bring your attention to where there is discordance. Where is it? Where are you knocking? That's a good way to put it. So yeah, I'd love to know what you're thinking.